All right, welcome back to another episode of our Rapid Chess Speedrun. Not loading here. We are still undefeated. Had a very good game yesterday, playing at almost 90% accuracy. We've had some close games in this series. 2 games ago, we just about lost, but so far, still looking to improve our undefeated streak. We are officially 1300 elo. Opponent here is 1283, and we'll get another Sicilian defense. Let's see if we get an open Sicilian here. So looks like we almost get a Najdorf, but instead we get queen takes instead of knight takes here. This is all theory. So he'll likely take the knight here. Could also drop the queen back is an option. Moves the queen forward. I'm not familiar with that move. Can I play here? Obviously we'll trade, but then he'll have to go back to guard that square, and I think I can develop my rook out at that point. I guess, okay, let's play there. Let's see, takes. He has this move. I could get my queen out to defend and then try and get my rook involved. That seems good to me. I can also just develop my knight with tempo, which is probably even better. So, bit of a weird choice by our opponent, keeping this queen here rather than dropping back. We will see where the game goes from here. Okay. If I play check, he can still develop the knight there. So I think continuing to develop with threats is the best idea here. So I'm gonna develop my rook. Okay, castles. Could go there. He would trade, drop his queen back. Then that trade is not so effective because he can take with his queen. I guess there, trade, drop back, yeah. I could trade, I would pick up a pawn at the end of the line. I think I'd be better in that position, but we would simplify a lot. And I think I'm doing better than just winning a pawn here. If I play a6, let's say we trade, he could maybe play e5. That's not great for me. So I'd say let's go into this. We'll win a pawn at the end of the line. So it takes here. He has to move his queen. Important to note that this knight is, oh, so he does it that way. So maybe I just win this pawn. Let's start here. Okay. I'll pick up the pawn. G6, we might have takes, so probably don't want to play G6 here. I could consider a move like Queen G4. I don't hate, that threatens the bishop. Obviously, if he takes my knight, I take the queen first. So that might induce a queen trade. And then I could probably push his bishop around. Could also go for H6, try and get him to trade there. Also could consider a move like Rook C5. That might push his, or induce the trade as well. Maybe even I play G takes to open up my bishop. That would not give me a super safe place to castle though. I can also just take a pawn, which feels like a reasonable option. I usually don't want to get too pawn hungry, but I think I'm just going to take, and we'll see what our opponent does. Because now I still have ideas like Queen G4 to get the queens off the board. And if I get the queens off the board, it should be much easier to convert a two-pawn advantage. Good move might be something like Rook D1. Then he threatens a move like Pawn E5. Okay, opponent wants to get in here. Considering that move that I talked about earlier. Should I go for it? There. Yep, let's go for it. See what our opponent decides here. Doesn't have a way to attack the rook, so he can't counterattack the rook and leave the bishop to hang. And up two pawns, I would love to trade queens, especially because my king is a bit less safe. Our opponent's been able to castle, I have not yet. Opponent has slightly more activity, and when there are more pieces on the board, more activity is gonna be much better. If it's an endgame, things can be critical move by move, but oftentimes the game is a little bit slower. So we'll see what he opts for here. Okay. He decides to save the bishop that way. So I should probably, what to do? If I play e6, he'll take. It's not terrible for me. I'll have good pawns in the center. My king might be a little bit weak. So that's something to consider. I could start with h6. Presumably he would take. I'm going to play e6. If he takes, not the end of the world. I could even leave my king in the center and could be safe. I'll be interested to check the analysis after the game, though, to see if that was the right way to play this position. Luckily, the knight doesn't have any way to make forward progress. Our opponent snags a pawn there. So, important move, I want to play rook g8 here. If I do that though, he can play... Our opponent almost has perpetual check, which is kind of funny. It doesn't quite work because I can go king there, and that way that takes away his options. I think it's safer though to play bishop out here first though, so I have that option to block with a bishop as needed. Maybe this is fine. If he brings, yeah, he doesn't have the knight hop in. Let's actually go for it. This doesn't work. Important to note that my rook guards the pawn on b7. So, generating an attack of my own. He does go for this, but he has no further checks now. Okay, our opponent brings the rook over. Must have just missed that this is checkmate in one, so blunder from our opponent there. Let's go ahead and check the game review. I think we're in a pretty good position. It was a complicated game, so let's take a look. So we get, this is all theory, and then, yeah, bishop d7 is the move here. He goes, yeah, so this is bad. I do play the best move, which is knight to f6. a6, also a strong candidate move here. He drops back. Okay, so it did like a6 here. What did I end up going with? I think I bring my rook over. Also reasonable, but it really likes a6 here. Just curious if he takes. It does like bishop takes, and then strong pressure on this pawn. Okay. But instead of a6, I bring my rook over, and I develop my knight. We go for this series of trades, and then, okay, here I should have taken the free pawn. This way I win this pawn instead of this pawn at the end of the line, which makes sense. This is a central pawn. I just wasn't sure about damaging my pawn structure this way, but the computer seems to like it, so I do it this way. And then actually our opponent stumbled into a reasonable position here. I snag another pawn, which it actually finds the game to be even after that. And then this was a mistake. What did our opponent have here? Our opponent plays the best move. Why is this bad for me? Seems to think after queen c1, I would have just been in trouble. Why? Am I getting my queen trapped? Bishop takes, pawn takes. Oh. I mean, I would have played pawn takes here. What? Then he has a knight sacrifice to open up the queen. This is a crazy line. I go here, and then what does our opponent play? We don't repeat because he is supposedly winning, so then he plays e takes. In this position, I'm up an entire bishop, but I guess I'm just too exposed. And our opponent's just gonna kill us here. Yeah, I need to already lose the bishop back. Okay, so that doesn't happen, and there's no way our opponent would have seen that. I would be impressed if even like some grandmasters can miss that. And here, it actually does still find our opponent better despite me being up material. I guess the king is just in a weak spot, but our opponent blunders mate in one, and I find it with queen g2 checkmate. So thanks for joining. We will see you in the next video.